Today I want to talk about something that I've gotten dozens and dozens of messages and emails about, which is these new AI voice recorders that everyone's shilling on TikTok, Insta, and in other places. As I said, I've had more than a few followers reach out to me to ask my opinion on them, and well, that's what I'm about to do. So, in case you don't know, these little gadgets are ones that record your conversations and instantly transcribe everything that is said. And I'm going to be straight with you about them. I'm actually in favor of these things in a big way, especially for men. Used correctly, they're one of the best tools a man can have in 2025 in order to protect himself from things like false allegations, which are so rampant. Because the truth is simple. If you're a man today, you need receipts, you need evidence, you need a record of what actually has happened, not what somebody wishes had happened. And these little devices deliver exactly that. Let's face it, we live in a Me Too, believe all women society, and if it comes down to your word against hers, it's a virtual certainty that she's the one who's going to be believed. As a man, you are guilty until proven innocent, as thousands and thousands of men have found out. But that said, while many are pushing these things as the be-all, end-all solution to a lot of these problems, what I haven't really seen anyone discuss is what are the potential pitfalls of using one of these recorders. And to be sure, my friends, there are some potential pitfalls. Ones that in some cases could actually land you in hot water, potentially even in jail. So before you go out and buy one, we're going to talk about the pros, the cons, and potential legal landmines that you need to know about. Because as I said, I haven't seen anyone else on TikTok or anywhere else doing it. And if you're not careful, this thing could save your life or it could get you arrested. Now, let me start off by saying I got to cover my ass before I do anything else. I am not a lawyer, and in no way am I giving anyone any legal advice. I'm just giving you my 2 cents based on research I've done and conversations I've had with actual attorneys about the use of these things. And before you go getting one and then using it, I highly advise that you get the advice of an attorney licensed in your state. All right, now that I've done the whole CYA thing, let's break it down by starting with the pros. And pro number 1, it captures the truth in real time. No he said, she said, no I never said that, no rewriting the story later. This could be a game changer in, example, family court or custody cases where we all know mothers just love to portray things in any way they need to in order to gain custody and access to the cash, your cash. I wish it was this easy when I was dealing with family court. You press a button, you talk, you walk away with a transcript that's searchable, time-stamped, and backed up. In my opinion, that alone makes it worth its weight in gold. Pro number 2, it protects you in heated moments. Arguments, accusations, threats, conflicts. Sometimes you don't even realize how fast something can spiral until you've been painted as the villain. Hell, sometimes you don't even know something is being painted as a heated moment until days or weeks afterward. Beautiful example of this is in corporate settings where HR investigations could be going on against you for a while before you're even aware they're happening. Then days or weeks later, you're asked to tell your side of the story on something you might not even remember happening. And as someone who was involved in doing dozens of HR investigations over the years, I can't tell you the number of men who were completely blindsided and couldn't remember things that had happened days or even weeks earlier to any great detail, which was a huge detriment to their ability to defend themselves. Having one of these recorders could potentially have saved many of these men's careers. If they'd had an accurate record, they could have shut that investigation down instantly. A third pro is that these devices are pretty discreet. They're fast and they're easy. No fumbling with your phone, no obvious recording apps. You just hit press and talk. And later on, you download a verbatim transcript of what was said. Let me tell you, that would have saved me hours of typing and transcribing from memory what had occurred in a particular instance back in the day. So hell yeah to that. All right, now that all sounds great, right? Well, now let's do the reality check that you need to be aware of, starting with con number 1, which is the recording laws in the United States are a frickin' minefield. Every state is different, which is why I said earlier you need to speak to an attorney in your state before getting or using one. Do your due diligence, because in some states there is something called one-party consent, meaning if you are in the conversation, you can record it without telling the other person. All well and good, right? Except that in other states it's two-party consent, meaning both parties, or everyone, if there's more than two, has to agree to being recorded. Or you could be potentially committing a crime. Now, to be fair, there are a million exceptions to this, some of which I'll get to in a moment. But you need to be aware of what those are, or it could be you who's the one who ends up getting in hot water. Bottom line, if you're in a one-party state, you're usually good. But if you're in a two-party state, you could face fines, lawsuits, even criminal charges if you don't get permission first. And yes, that could include jail time in some cases. Con number 2 to consider if it applies to your situation is, what about if you're crossing state lines? Well, my friends, that complicates everything. If you're in a one-party state and they are in a two-party state, you may still be held to the stricter law. Again, I'm not an attorney or a legal expert, so it's not for me to determine what will happen in that situation. Frankly, it's very complicated because there are so many, well, that depends on involved. But the fact is, most men never even think about that. But believe me, judges and the court system do. So again, and I know I sound like a broken record here, but do your due diligence because, and this is the number 3 con, if you use this device illegally, the recording, which could save your ass, might be thrown out anyway, meaning it might not help you. And now you could end up being the one on the defensive. Now you're the one whose ass is on the line, not the person you were trying to protect yourself from. And here's where the water gets even murkier. As I said earlier, in two-party states, there are exceptions. And yes, they do matter. The most common one people know about is the use of them in domestic violence situations. I may be wrong, but I'm unaware of any jurisdiction that doesn't allow the use of one of these recorders in cases of IPV. There are also exceptions for things like threats, harassment, and extortion. Then there's the whole, well, what is your right to privacy in a public place argument? This isn't the time or place to discuss that, which again speaks to why you need to make sure you find out what the laws are and how they read in your state. But if you reasonably believe a crime is happening or you're in danger, best to my knowledge, most states will allow recording without consent. But that is not an absolute. DoorDash girl, anyone? My friends, don't be like her and rely on TikTok advice to decide that in the moment, because that's how good men get jammed up. Now, having said all that, here's the bottom line as I see it. I support men protecting themselves and strongly hope they do so by getting one of these. I support men having evidence. I support men using tools like this so they don't get destroyed by false stories or false allegations. But again, you've got to use it smart, not reckless. You've got to use it legally. So here's my advice. And yes, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Yes, you should absolutely get one and use it regularly, but do so legally. And to make sure you are, talk to a lawyer licensed in your state. Ask them what your laws say. Ask them what you can record. Ask them what counts as consent. Ask them what exceptions apply when you're in danger. Look, don't take my word on any of these things. And for damn sure, don't take someone on TikTok's word that is shilling one of these things. Get the word from the person who actually knows your state's laws. Because once you do understand the rules, this little device becomes one of the most powerful safety tools a man can carry. It's not because you're paranoid, not because you're looking for drama, but because in 2025, protecting yourself for men is not optional, it's survival. And if you want, I'll put a link to the device I recommend down below. Just, again, use it wisely, use it legally, use it to protect yourself, not to hurt anyone else. All right, man, that's my 2 cents, and I hope it helps. Stay sharp, stay safe, stay documented, and cover your ass in any way you can, because the danger is real, very real, for all of us.